this kind of pattern that have caused the PNC to lose the 2020 elections, because when they won, people thought it was a new PNC and they were given a chance to rule. But if you look at the pattern, in 92, after being so long in power due to rigged election, there was post-election violence. In 97, there was post-election violence. In 2001, there were post-election violence. In 2011, although there was a minority government, they made confusion. So Belladrum and the crowds outside the court confirm to a pattern of PNC behavior, and it may be the last hooray, because people may finally come around to say, look, it's no point having these people in government ever, because they are not prepared to lose power. Now, what you really think that Belgium thing is spontaneous? Those they are subterranean causes, a subterranean incitement. That Mingo is just being used as the excuse to cut off traffic and development, agricultural development between Berbice and Region 4. And I want to believe this Belgium incident is the beginning of the pattern that we have seen since 1992. It's unfortunate that Guyana has to go through this with a party that is not prepared to conform to 20th century political behavior. Look what's happening in Mali. There was an unpopular civilian government in Mali, and the military overthrew it, and the international society is not accepting it. There were people on the streets rejoicing at the overthrow of the civilian government, but yet France and other countries are saying, you've got to get back to civilian rule. There is no appetite for this kind of perpetual behavior among countries in the world. And what the PNC is doing is just atavistically reverting to the only biology and physiology and anatomy it knows. That is, if it can get its way, it's going to drag Guyana down. Look, there were undercurrents going on in those 5 months that have not been made public. There was a cabal, 2 of them in the AFC, well, you could probably say 3, and a cabal in the PNC. And these were the pronouncements made. I am quoting, we ain't giving up power, let they bring sanctions. We ain't bringing. So they were prepared to say, look, let the country implode. And I want to believe Belgium is the beginning of an extension of that mentality that we saw in the 5-month ordeal. Where it's going to end, I don't know. It will depend on the kind of support we get from the society and we get from international society. But I believe the government should be decisive. You can't lose an election and you want to create these kinds of things. But where are the voices that speaks against racism of African Guyanese, racism against African Guyanese? When you're telling people to come out in the hundreds, they're shouting at each other, they're coughing, you are criminally responsible for the spread of COVID-19. Now, I didn't get what Frank Anthony said because I came on late. I got one part which I will deal with just now, but I don't know if he said in the interview that per capita we are very, very high among the countries in the world. For example, we had 42 deaths, which I think is around the same or a little bit more in Australia. But Australia has 30 million people. Now, you do the per capita calculation. Guyana
Yes.
is probably 2 or 3 on the list. So when you could have a country
Hmm.
that is about
Hmm.
number 4 or 5 with affliction from COVID-19, and these people can have the picketers, you saw those picketers in Belgium, they had no mask on. Very, very few. They were shouting.
Correct.
You can see saliva and other sweat were circulating in the environment. How could anyone
Hmm.
who believe Black Lives Matter to tolerate that nonsense of the High Court this morning and in Belgium? You courting people's destruction, your own supporters' destruction. Now, the one thing
Correct.
I think we have to stand firm in this country is that if you allow Belgium to succeed, then nobody can be charged for no wrongdoing. They want
That's the
um,
thing.
they want
That's the
Mingo to be
thing. You are
released.
so right. You are so right, Freddie. Yeah. Freddie, on that note, though, let me ask you this. So uh, I don't know, is he already? No, I guess tomorrow we would know. Joe Harmon, the presumptive
What did you
uh,
say?
opposition leader, the presumptive opposition leader, he actually made a public call for mass gathering. Now, let us just say if the PPP government were to develop whatever they have to develop and go and arrest this man, they would then be, it's a vicious circle you would create. But is Mr. Joe Harmon's call then not a threat to public security? And if you allow that threat to go unanswered and unchallenged by the police, isn't something wrong with the picture as well, Freddie?
Well, something is wrong with that. But at the end of the day, a ruler, a leader, a government has to go on the chessboard and look at strategic moves. Now, in in the politics of war, in the politics of war, maybe even war itself, you have to look at the advantages and disadvantages of your enemies. What advantage they have, what disadvantage. If you know the intention of your enemy is to do A, B, C, D, you should not give them the leeway to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the PNC and a group in the AFC has decided that they are going to give the government headaches. They're going to give. They're not. It's not going to. They're not going to allow them to run the country smoothly. Surely the government's intelligence should have picked that up. So Belgium has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with Mingo. The call for people to come out in the High
Right.
Court in a large numbers have nothing to do with the election petition. These are what you call testing ground, testing the waters. It for them, for the PNC and the AFC, it was successful because traffic was not flowing freely yesterday and this morning and up to this afternoon because although you could pass
Yeah.
Belgium, you couldn't pass Myconi. So they're testing the water. If you go and arrest Harmon, you may get a scenario, a reenactment of Robert
Of course.
Corbyn, who said that, remember, he was in front of the office of the president and he said the police broke his leg and it was in plaster of Paris. And what happened then? Georgetown, a Garou building was burned down in Regent Street. You have to understand where the PNC is coming from. You have to understand the nature of the PNC.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have the AFC on them. Remember, the well-to-do middle-class woman Cathy Hughes was at the court
Mhm.
this morning. Now prior to
Mm-hmm.
prior to 2020, anybody would perceive Cathy Hughes as this, aristocratic middle class lady who wouldn't dare be seen in a crowd outside the High Court, but she was there. So the intentions are clear. that they are going to
Right.
confront this government. It's for the government now to strategize. If
Mm-hmm.
you ask me if they should arrest Harmon, I will say let him go.
Mm-hmm. So, but Freddie, you mentioned the crowd in front of the courts now. Um, what's the logic in Freddie Kissoon's mind that would see Cathy Hughes and all of the politicians go now to embrace Mingo when these were the politicians that were singing fraud is fraud? And David Granger said, we do not interfere with GCOM. GCOM is independent. Why are they then embracing Mingo? GCOM is independent.
They have to tell people, you see, one of the reasons why the PNC, the AFC, went into overdrive and self-destruct is they carried the rigging for too long. So with the passage of every month and with each strategy falling on its face, they had to come up with a concatenation of explanations to their supporters. Because in the first week, there was one explanation. In the second week, there was another explanation until it climaxed at Artachon Convention Center with bundles of things missing, etc. So from March, they keep changing the tune. They keep changing the sermon. They keep changing the refrain. So it has now reached the point of diminishing return. They lost power. But since they told over 200,000 people who voted for them that they didn't lose power, they have to keep telling them that they haven't lost. And so the embrace of Mingo is just another example of we didn't lose. They are using Mingo to crucify us. It, it, it will, by the time the election petition is heard, it's more comical output will be generated. It has to be the most pathetic nonsense in the history of jurisprudence in the modern world, not in the 21st century, that you could file a petition to say that an election was fraudulent, and you have done two things. You are telling the defendant that the defendant must prove that it is rigged. You are the plaintiff. You have to prove that it is rigged. These people have issued a statement saying the PPP will have to prove that it was rigged. Commonsensical approach to jurisprudence will tell you when you sue, you have to tell the court, he called me a thief at the airport in Barbados and there were people there, and you bring your witness. The second thing they have done, and this is where these people are making Guyana look so stupid, when that court case reached to the CCJ, you are going to tell those learned judges that no, we didn't think it was relevant to produce our statements of polls. Do you know from the time the voting finishes, the most crucial part of the election after 6 o'clock is the statement of poll? You can't have a result without the statement of poll. The statement of poll is the conclusion and the definitiveness of the voting process in a particular building. So if it's at Xanadu School and 10 parties contesting, that document tells you what happened in Xanadu School in terms of who won and who lost. These people have filed an election petition and are saying that they will not produce their statement of poll. What they have been doing the past 5 months, which is unfortunate and they're so stupid they can't see it, they are leading the jurists in Guyana to embarrass themselves, and the jurists are saying, We are not going to embarrass ourselves. It happened over and over the past 5 months. They asked um, Justice Bassington Reynolds and Gregory Don Barnes to discount, for want of a better word, the recount, that the recount is illegal. CARICOM can order recount, GCOM recount. The two judges said the recount could go on, GCOM has the authority. Then they came up with the last one, and all three appeal court judges said that the recount is valid. So they're going to go to court now, and whoever is that judge, argue an election petition. And when the other side, which is the defendants, the PPP and the government, say, well, could you please produce your statements of poll, and you will see that everything was right in Marconi, Mahaika, everything was signed off. They're going to tell that judge, no, we haven't got them. What? This is really, really self-destruction. It really is.
But Freddie, let me ask you this. I don't think that the filing of this elections petition is aimed at a definitive outcome. They don't want to see the end of the case, and they're not interested. Whatever the courts are going to do will be deemed to them, oh, well, the PPP is controlling the judiciary. It will always go down like that. Every question that is being made upon their elections petition is so. It is they're throwing it all at all the walls, whatever sticks, and they're gonna. I feel this is just a PR stunt. It's just to appease their supporters to continue to accept their lie that the election was rigged, and nothing will change that, and no declaration by a judge will change that. What are your thoughts?
But that is unconscionable, and that is sadistic. You cannot keep people on that kind of suspense. That case is going to take months. You cannot do that to people who love you and stood by you the past 70 years. There are 200,000 people who went out there and voted for them. They have to level with those people. And the only way they could level with those people is by telling them where they fell down. That is the people themselves, that the people should have shown more sympathy for them. There should have been a larger turnout, etc. Because, quite frankly, they got a smaller turnout than they had hoped for, and I think they have themselves to blame. If you look at the way they treated teachers, the university students, they took some money away from soldiers, some money soldiers, a bonus soldiers used to get. So they should level with people. You cannot be so sadistically using your supporters like that. You know, in fairness to the PPP, for the past 5 years, the PPP initially didn't give up power about 2-3 days after they did. And they never went on a regime of denouncing their successor, saying that they're in power because they rigged. They finished with that. And what Jagbio did, and Nigel Hughes give him credit for that on a program. What the PPP did is say, listen, we are going to relentlessly expose the shortcomings of this government and to show the people of Guyana that they are worse than us. And they set about doing that. And every egregious, depraved, malignant mistake the APNU-AFC made, the PPP just pounced on it and were using it to beat them with. Now, as I'm speaking to you here, I don't know where to begin because there was so much mistakes. What came into my mind right away was the marijuana bill. That you have 200 youths languishing in jail for a little smoke, and you wouldn't amend that law. And the Chatio gave a press conference and said, we will vote if it comes to Parliament, we will vote for the amendment. Now, these are things that the PPP did for the 5 years. These are the things that the PNP has to do. call it George, as we say in common parlance, and start to work to get your support back. But I feel something dangerous is at work here. I believe the PPP is going to be a very recalcitrant organization and very violence prone organization in the years to come because I really cannot see through any kind of permutation or any kind of configuration how they could win in 2025. No, I can't see that. That the PPP and the other opposition parties just have to disappear, and therefore there's no election, only one party contesting, and they will be acclaimed the winner. I can't see that. So they are just in a mischief mood, and that is going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a PPP or the coalition? What are you talking about?
Pardon me?
I'm very confused. You said that PPP not going to be around in 2025?
Pardon me? What was that?
Is it a PPP that you're talking about, Freddie, or you're talking about the coalition?
But I was making the point that the PNC is going to be in mischief mood because they know they're not going to win in 2025. So for the next couple of years, they're just going to taunt and harass the government.
And Freddie, I want to ask you directly. This morning, I saw something surprised me a little. That is the presence of former President David Granger in front when they would have filed that petition, that elections petition. Were you surprised that he's there after taking into consideration that his party, senior officials within his party or supporters would have given him a hiding or would have really attacked his leadership qualities? Were you surprised that he was there after his concession when it would have been Comrade Ramjitan who would have admitted that they were not conformed with regards to that concession?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that he was there. There is a big fight going on, and I think there are efforts being made to topple him. It's not going to be easy, but they are serious fissures inside the PNC. Now, for them to topple him, they have to do that through the orthodox route. They have to demand the overdue biennial Congress, and they have to put on the agenda leadership challenge. So he's going to make more and more appearances because I guess that is what Harmon and Amna Ali and them are advising him. So the fact that he's out there, he is raising his profile for when the big fight comes. But I do believe we are going to witness, as the weeks and months unfold, some serious confrontations within the PNC. And although he's been made an employee of the state, Carl Greenwich is saying that he's not finished with the PNC. He's been around a long time, and he's quite willing to stay. So that statement alone tells you that he is not staying out. And he and Granger don't get along. I don't even think they're on speaking terms. So Granger will finally do what he has not done before. Find himself among the ordinary people. Of course, it's too little too late.
Right. And on that note, Leonard, I don't know if you saw it, Leonard, and if Freddie, you saw it. I think the clerk of the National Assembly might have issued
yes, I know about
something to talk about the dual citizenship. Yeah.
Yes.
Any comments is this the first time that is happening, and that the clerk would ask persons to comment or to assure the parliament that they are not dual citizens?
Well, it's the first time it's happening, and it's happening because the opposition leader may be a dual citizen. And so I don't know if the clerk has been legally advised that as the custodian of the rules and laws of Parliament, that he should go in that direction. I think GCOM is derelict in their duty. GCOM has said twice that it's not for them to ask for proof. people should have the responsibility and honesty. That is nonsense. The police can't say that we ain't going out late in the night because people should not go out in the road and steal. GCOM cannot say people should be honest. GCOM should see that the honesty is publicly manifest. Now, I suspect that someone told the clerk of the assembly that you have to show some proof that you're not a dual citizen. Now, why you can get away with that is because the only way to prove you're not a dual citizen is for the other country to say, no, he's not a citizen, or yes, he's a citizen. Under the laws of the United States, they're not going to give out that information. So the onus now is on the lawmakers of the country to say, show us where you are a Guyanese only. And I hope civil society and people like us take it up because frankly, I do not believe that the dual citizens from the PNC side has relinquished the dual status. It's my right to express an opinion. I am not calling them liars. I am not calling them deceitful. I am just offering my opinion that I don't think they have relinquished it. If they're going to sue for that, I would like them to sue because then they have to go into court and show where they have relinquished it. Now, one of the ways we can get them to prove that they've relinquished the thing is for us to call them all kinds of names and let them sue. And once they sue, then they have to show the court that we libel them, that they gave up their citizenship. In that case, we will have the proof.
Correct.
Who's going to bail the cats?
Correct.
But Gary, why don't you call?
Well, it's an interesting time ahead.
Why don't you call Harmon a liar and let him sue you, and then you will have to go in court and produce his relinquishing of his American citizenship. You want to do it? You want to call him a liar?
Knowing that I don't have a lot of assets like you. I understand you have a very nice house. I'm going to call you a liar.
Well, Leonard, let me speak up there. It is exactly, you don't have anything to lose then.
That is why he
Let's see.
You know, Guyana used to say all kinds of things and get libel. That's because Guyana had nothing in his life. So you couldn't sue him and win anything. Only the salt bag that...
Well, let's see how that goes.
Right.
Freddie's a liar, so you can take me to court, man. Let's put it to this.
Freddie, thank you. We are getting to the top of our hour. I have one last question for you, Freddie. In terms of the Mingo and Lowenfield cases coming forward, as the ladies and gentlemen of public would know that the DPP and so forth, they are going to seek prosecutors who could well fit the roles that can take these cases to its conclusion. What does Freddie Kissoon see as the conclusion of the Mingo case, for example, and the Lowenfield case?
It's going to take a long time because they're going to have incessant postponement. But I believe the government and I think civil society and the Guyanese population should be serious. I've lived through rigged elections. And I think Mr. Burnham, now I want to put this as neat as possible so I wouldn't get into any trouble because I know Burnham was demonic and I know the 1985 election was terribly rigged. But what I saw in this election, it was an insult to your dignity. Now that is where Burnham was smarter, much smarter than these misfits we have here. Burnham did things and then he said, but I was doing it for that reason. For example, he escorted the ballot boxes and he said, I was protecting the ballot boxes from PPP people who were driving behind the vehicles to seize the ballot boxes. That is why I had to pick them up and store them at Queen's College. He gave explanations. These people for 5 months rigged an election and was not given an explanation and was not trying to hide it. Now you have to understand with Burnham and them. Burnham tried to hide the rigging, and Burnham succeeded in hiding the rigging, but we know that he was rigging it. They didn't try to hide the rigging, and that is why the international society was so incensed, because people say to themselves, I am an international diplomat. I have represented my government throughout the world. You cannot treat me like this. I mean, lie to me behind my back when I go home and say that the election was free and fair, but don't rig the thing in front of me. And they were doing that in front of former prime ministers. They were doing that in front of top diplomats, people who served in the UN, diplomats who represented superpowers in the capitals of the world. These people took personal objection to what was happening in front of them. For that reason, I think for that reason, the Mingo's case should go to its logical climax, and there is proof and evidence of his fraud, and he should be convicted.
So, Freddie, sorry. Thank you for taking the time out to be here with us tonight, Freddie. We are looking forward to continuous discussion with you, because one of the things we didn't get to do tonight, Freddie, was to discuss some of the appointments, like the minister of, the new CEO of GWI, and some of these guys. But
can I just get in something quickly that I heard Frank Anthony said?
Yes.
He said the police can't be everywhere for when these people are violating. But the police are all everywhere. The traffic cops are everywhere. And they're everywhere harassing people for smoking a joint. So all you have to do is sit down and smoke a joint by KFC, and you can see the police come in. So how come the police can't see when people are violating COVID-19 restrictions?
Point taken. Freddie, thank you so much. We are out of time. My co-host, Mr. Leonard Gildari, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on Wednesday evening, as you know, this time with no other than Mr. Anil Nandlal, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, will be with us on Wednesday evening to discuss some of the legal ramifications of what's happening in Guyana. And we'll certainly pose this question to him from Freddie on Wednesday evening. Ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesday evening also, we'll be joined by Dr. Duki to talk to us about some of the things that's happening in that realm. As you know, some of the real he's one of the rare neurosurgeons in Guyana, and we are looking forward to having his company along with the AG in 2-segment show for Wednesday evening. It's been a pleasure to have you all here. My apologies to the Kaicho Radio technical crew. We have gone over for about a minute or two, but you can certainly deduct that from Leonard Gildari's paycheck or from Freddie's paycheck. And I'll take my leave as I say that. Freddie, thank you. Leonard, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been great to have you. Stay blessed wherever you are. Do a prayer for this beautiful country of ours. It is still the best place on this planet. God bless Guyana, and God bless each and every one of you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.